All right, so last video we completed the nav bar and it comes down all the way to be this right here. Now we need to work on the hero area. So I erased the setup that I had because I want to just do this every single video, right? First I wrap it in a section. And this section will wrap 100% of the body, no matter how big the body is. And I'll give it a class or an ID of, I'll just give it a class of hero. You know what? I'm going to give it an ID. I'm feeling ID today. Let's do an ID of hero. Now inside of it, I'll make a div and I'll give a class of container, right? And this is what Bootstrap writes for us. It gives us a minimum, a max width of, I don't know, 1140, and then various max widths as we go down the breakpoints until it's 100% at the smallest breakpoints. So that sets up our whole context there. Let me give some space in between there. And it says you create, this is number 3 now, create the text of there. You need a headline, a line of text, and a button that says something, right? So headline is going to be an H1. It's going to be like, hey, I've got a product, right? And I'll close that and I'll do text. My product is really peachy keen, right? And then I'll need a button. Now technically you wouldn't use a button like a button because this is for like forms and things, and you actually couldn't put an href here to send me to somewhere. So you actually want to use an a tag, and href equals, and then this would go somewhere, right? Whoops. So somewhere, right, to whatever page they would go and buy your stuff, and you'd say, buy now, right? And a, right? There we go. Now I'm gonna need a class on that, so I'm gonna call this a class of equals button, right? So there we go. We've got that, and let's go mosey what it looks like, and it doesn't look like much, right? So we need to style that, so I'm gonna go to main CSS. Actually, I don't tell you to style that. Let's keep on the directions. You may notice your text is behind your header. It's because the space removed. Add padding to the container in the same amount as your header to counteract it. Okay, so I need to know how high my header is. So I'm going to go into my wonderful inspector and just kind of get a sense. Here it is. My header is 44 pixels. Yours may or may not be, depending on if you added any padding to these. So I'm going to say, I'm going to say select the hero area and get the container and give it a padding top of 44 pixels, right? And so now you see that my text actually stops below that. And I want to use padding and not margin. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is I guess I could use margin. There really is no matter. I just want to use padding for whatever reason. So add a height of at least 300 pixels to this hero area. So I'm already here in the container, so I'll just say a min height of 300 pixels. That covers my bases. Now you really can't see any difference there, but trust me, it is minimum of 300 pixels. As you see if I mouse over it in my inspector. And let's see, use Flexbox properties to center your text vertically. Possibly another div in class. And I guess I probably should have made you center it also both ways. Now, it may depend on your picture. You may want it to the left, you may want it centered. I don't really know what my intention was completely. So what do I do? Well, first I'm going to make this container a display of flex, right? Because I need to set Flexbox properties. Okay, so it's doing this. So we don't want our Flexbox to be row. Well, there's a couple ways to solve this. I can change this from naturally Flexbox is a row, but I could also turn this to columns if I wanted to, and that would solve it. But instead, I think I'm going to take the lazy way out, and I'm actually just going to go and wrap all of this in a div. There we go. So now I have all 3 of these things inside of a div, right? And so now at least they're back together, but they're not centered. So how do I center it? I go to main CSS and I'm going to say, justify my content, center, right? And there it is centered. Now, if I wanted to center also to the height of the, let me put a background color just temporarily on this. I'm going to say background color, I don't know, I'm going to say just a light gray so you can see there's something there. I want to center it the other way on the other axis. I would say align content center, right? Oops, maybe it's align items center. There it is. I always forget which one content and items is. I always screw those up and have to type it twice. So there we are. I've got it centered both ways, and I can make it any height and it will be centered. So if I go to that min height and just play with it in my thing here, you'll see that it's perfectly centered here. Okay, so now it says style with visual hierarchy, a big title, normal text size, a button that looks like a button. You must set CSS for all of this. Don't rely on normalized CSS. I keep saying normalized CSS in this. I really mean bootstrap CSS. I just, for some reason, kept typing normalized CSS when I wrote this. So, I mean, this is a default style, but I want you to actually go in and say, well, okay, let's go get the, right, I'm going to go in and I'm going to get the H1, and I'm going to maybe make it font size, I don't know, 48 pixels, color. I'm actually going to make it white because I'm going to use a dark background. Right? Maybe I want the paragraph to be a different color, so I'll make it number FFF. And that button I want to style, right? So we need to style it to look like an actual button. So how do we make it look like a button? Well, first thing I would do is put a background color on it. And I'm going to make it, I don't know. I'm going to just make it blue instead of going looking for a hexadecimal color. It'd be good if you went to look for a color. Maybe I'll actually make it orange because I know the background I have, I think, is kind of purpley, so it'll pop off. Background color orange. Let's see what's going on here. So now, whoa, I forgot to get the button there. There we are. No, there we go. And I think I actually put a, you know what I did is I could have just done it this way because I put a button class on there. And so now we see the style. So right, I want a color of white. I want some padding, so I'll give it maybe, I don't know, 4 pix, 8 pix, font size, 18 pixels, whoa, 187 pixels. See how we're looking here. It's going better. I'm going to put some border radius on it. Border radius of maybe, let's put it 8 pixels. There we go. It's looking a little more like a button. And I'm also going to want styles that hover on that, right? So let me turn this off. Right now, it turns this ugly blue and text underlined. I don't want that. So I'll say button, button hover, and I'll make it, come on, I'll make it go away. Color, I'll keep the color white. I'll turn off the text decoration, the underline, and I'll make the background color change. Background color, is there anything that's darker than thing? I'm gonna have to find, I'm just gonna make it red, but I really should just make it a darker version of this orange. I just don't feel like looking up hex colors. You should go look up colors, right? Okay. I want to center everything, so why don't I go to this container and go ahead and say text align center, and that'll make everything centered. The text is there, it's just the same color as the background. So, because I know I'm going to be changing the background. So the image is key to the hero area. So I need to put a background on that, and I have in my images a background called sky. So I'm going to put it on, I'm not going to put it on the container, I'm actually going to put it on the hero. I have a tendency also, if you notice, I write them in order of like their nesting order as well. Again, it's all about making your code readable and logical, I think, is really what I try to do. So I'm going to say a background image of URL, right? And it's images sky.jpg. And you'd have to get however you're working. Background, repeat, no repeat, background. this is really important about where you put your text, what you have to figure out how you want yours to go. I'm going to make mine center because my text is in the center, the main thing of the text is in the center. And then I'll take a look at it and see if I want to change that. And then I'm going to say background size cover, right? Because we want it to always be there. Okay, so we've got that. I got to take off that background color to my hero. There we are. So now I got to do some art direction, right? And I believe that's where it says you to do it. So you need to do art direction and make sure it's good at all sizes. So the first thing, my hero area is definitely not high enough. So let me make it more bigger, and I'm going to make it, I don't know, let's say 600 pixels. That looks about good. Maybe I could even, you know, I could obviously use my thing here to test out where I think, you know, 700 pixels. I'm going to make it 700 pixels. Now, it cuts it off right there naturally at 700 pixels. And of course, though, it's cover, so it actually does this. So I should be looking at it like this. And I think the main thing is that my image is very important that you see the bottom. So instead of centering it on the position, I'm going to say center bottom, right? And so now this image will always be on the bottom. And that's what I mean by art directing, right? You should think about what's right for your image. And now, look, it looks great all the way across. Now, I may at some point want to change this min height because think about it, on a phone, so let me actually change my to responsive here, and let's look at it on an iPhone. On an iPhone, I don't know, 6, 7, 8. So now you see that it's it takes up more than the thing here, and it almost gives you this it's called a it seems complete. There's a word for this in user experience design, false completeness. There's something like that. And so maybe I want it so that you can see the next section. So I would actually put in a media query, right? So at media min, I'm going to say max width because I only want it to be below this. So at max width, and I'll say, I don't know, 768 pixels, so like an iPad. I'll say, right, I need this. Where is the image? Okay, hero. No, I need the container. This is what I need because this is where I set the min height. I'm going to go ahead and set that min height, and I'm going to set it to, I don't know, 400 pixels, right? And so now you see like it gets smaller there. And so that way they'd start seeing the features right below it. Maybe I don't like that. Maybe I'd go, I don't know, 550. Oh, that is way too much, right? So there's 550. Now I can start seeing I don't have that that thing of sense of being complete. I know there's more on the page to scroll down. I know people scroll down, but there's actually, if they think the page is complete, they sometimes won't scroll down. And that's a little bit about design. So that's set up there. That's great. Let me go back to just regular responsive, right? And so when it's bigger, it's going to be 700, and when it's smaller, it's going to go 550. That seems great. And that's most of the art direction, right? So that's actually the entire section. What you need to do then is make sure, is my text readable? Is my photo art directed, right? I don't want you just to leave it as is and think, fine, it's done. Why does my text look so small? Though? That's my real question. Oh, I have it set to 80%. Here it is, 100%. There we go. Yeah, you should think about the design aspect of it, not just the coding aspect of it. Right here, like maybe I don't like the way this guy is behind this and swallowing this up. Maybe I need to actually go in and, and it's going to be different on your image. Maybe I want to, instead of centering that, maybe I want to take that div. So I'm going to do something real sneaky here. I'm going to say hero container div, right? And there's only one div. And if I wanted to be very specific, I'd say only the direct child div. And I'd say position relative top minus, I don't know, 100 pixels left 0, right? And I just moved that into that section without futzing with the height of this. I could have done things with padding too to do that. Again, it's just about art direction, right? So now maybe I have to make sure it still works, and it still works for me. So I'm pleased with that layout. And that is our hero area with a call to action and making sure that it has some kind of a, some kind of a hover thing.